Hey y'all, what's up? This is episode
5.
and you're now kicking it with Key. All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to Kick It with Key. This is our Mental Health Matters episode. We're trying to reclaim our peace. I have a great panel of ladies today that comes from all different backgrounds when it comes to dealing with mental health. So I'm going to go ahead and let them begin to introduce themselves, starting with Tanitra.
Good evening. Greetings, everyone. I am Tanitra Trice. I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Virginia. So I provide individual, group, family therapy to individuals located anywhere in the state of Virginia, but my home base is Richmond, Virginia. I decided to get into this field because I feel like when it comes to mental health in the African American community, there still is this stigma with what mental health looks like. It's still this notion of what happens in this family stays in this family. I have to suffer in silence. And then I also feel like representation matters. There's a lot of times where our little Black kids are overdiagnosed with ADHD and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or oppositional defiant disorder because they are seeing providers who don't look like them and don't have an understanding of what the culture looks like. So I wanted to embark on this journey just because I wanted to be someone that our people in our community felt like I can talk to. I can be transparent with. She's going to understand my journey and be here to listen and not report me, especially when we're thinking about our families. Oftentimes there's this negative um, understanding or negative undertone when it comes to like Department of Social Services that they're not going to seek the help. So I really just wanted to be the outlet for individuals who wanted the help or felt like they needed to help. They had a safe space to talk to somebody. My cognitive approach or my therapeutic approach is CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, which just means that if we're able to control our thoughts, everything else in line falls in place. My mantra on life is speak what you seek to you see what you said. Again, kind of that CBT, really just being mindful of the narrative we're creating and what we are putting out there to make sure positivity comes looking for us.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Kivaya Holmes. I am a social worker, actually. I'm a licensed social worker in the District of Columbia. So I actually work in the child welfare realm of social work. However, I do have a life coaching business on the side. And so I do, like life coaching, helping individuals do goal setting, communication, improving their communication. I really like to focus on sisterhood with my life coaching business. As far as social work, I originally went into psychology and was like, no, that's not really something that I wanted to do. I actually wanted to work directly with a broader population. So I chose social work. And so daily, my job is really to, just help everyone improve their quality of life, which goes hand in hand with my life coaching business. That's something that I really enjoy. And my vision and my mission is that I believe that in order for someone to change their behavior or in order for someone to change, they have to one be educated. You have to provide them with education. How can they change something if they don't know? That speaks to mental health. That speaks to just individuals in general. Also, I think that they need someone to encourage them. You need encouragement. You need someone to encourage you to actually, want to change your behavior or to see things from a different perspective and a different light. You need someone to empower you. You need someone to be on your team, letting you know, hey, you got this. You can change. You can do, you can do this, because change is scary. And so some people do not have that encouragement or do not have anyone to empower them. And so that's where I come in. And then lastly, I believe that once you have all of those things, you can actually change, which means that you can grow. And that doesn't have to be just mental health wise. You can grow interpersonally, spiritually, physically. And I also focus on well-being, which I like to work out. That's how I release my stress and things like that. So I kind of work with individuals in that area as well.
So my name is Phoebe, and I am not a licensed professional. I am a childcare administrator. I've been in the childcare field for 17 years, and I actually walked away and back in October to have our twins. That was my life's work. I enjoyed working with families, from new parents coming in with infants all the way up and through the before and aftercare children. And one thing that kept me there for so long was just learning the different family dynamics and what makes them work, and just being that voice of reason for them, to help them pay attention to what is actually going on with their child, especially the older children. I would say from 3 all the way up until before and after care, when they start showing just different behaviors, and that just because they may show some unfavorable behaviors does not make them bad children, and to help the parents navigate the different changes that may be affecting them. That is what I really, really enjoyed. And I started off as a teacher and I moved up into admin. And once I got to admin, that's where I really got to work more hands on with the parents and really help them through those different changes, such as how moving affects their children, or a divorce, or getting remarried, or anything like that, or something as simple as changing schools, or just changing their routine, and just helping them navigate those changes. I have always had a love for mental health. My degree is in family and human services, and I'm considering going into marriage and family therapy for a grad program, because it's personal for me as well. I grew up in a blended family, and last year, I'm sorry, ladies. Last year at this time, my husband and I, we were 6 months pregnant, and our daughter did not have a heartbeat. I went to a routine ultrasound, and they did not find her heartbeat. And so tomorrow is her birthday. And being on that healing journey, I have learned how to properly navigate the pitfalls that comes with. And that opened up a lot of other pains and traumas that I was dealing with, within my own family and within my own self. And it had me place a mirror on myself to really say, you know what, Phoebe, now is the time to really work through, why you are angry and why you are sad, and learning how to let those emotions come into play and let them pass through, instead of holding on to them and then lashing out. We have a 3-year-old daughter, who's very inquisitive and very observant. And so that also forced me to mature emotionally, a lot more and a lot faster than I had been doing. And so it's just that much more important to me to make sure I get this right. My husband and I are the first generation since my great grandparents to get married. And we are an example for the younger generation in our family. And so having that communication and having, I would say, repetitive conversations, to make sure that we get things right and hear each other, so that we don't end up in divorce court, because that's not what we want. Um, those things are important to me to be able to show other young ladies, and my peers, and even some that are older, that Black marriages can thrive, Black families can thrive. We can survive trauma. We can survive tragedy. So I felt that this was a perfect opportunity to be a part of this conversation, just based on my own personal journey, and to get out of my comfort zone, to share my experiences, and see where it takes me. So I'm excited for the conversation to continue.
I'm Janae. Um, I also am not a licensed therapist or social worker or anything like that. I am joining this conversation based on my own personal journey, like Vivia. Um, and Uh, Basically, my journey began with mental health, or getting into figuring out more about mental health and tips to stay sane, basically. After I became a mom 3 years ago, I had my son, and there were a lot of emotions that were happening that I didn't know where they were coming from. Um, and I started therapy. Um, and once I started therapy and kind of explaining my story or having conversations with other people, I realized they were also having the same issues, or dealing with the same situations that I was dealing with. And I was like, well, why is nobody telling me this? So now that I have gone through therapy and started my mental health journey, now I just want everybody to know about it, because I feel like people don't really talk about it. There is a stigma, especially in the Black community. And I just feel like everybody should be talking about it. This conversation definitely needs to happen, um, so that everyone is aware. And if they want to move forward, they can also get therapy or take the journey of healing on their own.
Greetings, greetings. My name is Sheila, aka Lita. I started the, my helping journey, I call it, 17 years ago. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology counseling and a mental health background as my master's. Um, I'm not licensed, but I am a qualified mental health professional in Virginia. I do life coaching on the side. I specialize in trauma and loss. Um, what really made me get into this field is just like my personal journey, um, just things that I've encountered as I was a child, and past trauma. And I'm going through a journey now with infertility. So that's definitely, you know, why I feel I want to, be able to speak and be able to help others. It's just my passion and my calling.
So I am so thankful everyone was just like open, transparent, just straight off the back. So that is great because that's going to be a great way to just kind of lead this conversation and guide it. While I will speak to why this is so important to me is because Janae's like my best friend. We talk like every day, and she really makes me like feel these emotions because like I be going through it, and we'll have a conversation, and I'm like, oh my gosh, girl, I think I am struggling in this area, and it is not a normal conversation. Like I can't say that I've had this conversation with any other friend, you know. It's also important that you have someone that you feel safe around to share the thoughts that we have. And I think that what happens is sometimes we may share too quick or with the wrong people, and then we feel as though that we've lost trust, right? So I'm the type of person where I give you trust as soon as I meet you, where other people you have to build to get that trust. So I give you the opportunity to, for you to break it, and then I'm like a mess. Whereas other people have the walls up that you have to climb to get over it. So I can't say what is better. Is it better that I have my walls down when I start a friendship, or should I have the walls up? But what I will say is that I'm always open and transparent, and that's what kicking it with key is. It's just open and transparency, and it's no judgment. Okay, so prime example. I remember I had in season one, I had an episode called Motherhood Woo Child the Ghetto. Now, that is not to discourage anyone from embarking on the journey of motherhood, but it's a lot that comes with it. And I think what happens is we kind of glorify social media, and we look at what people post on social media, if not realizing that people only post the good things, not necessarily the overall things, right? So I remember one day I was driving to work, and I was like, like it looked like it was raining in my car because it was my eyes, right? And I called my mom, and I told her, I was like, I just don't like my son today. And I felt like that was unacceptable. As a parent, you have got to like your kids. And my mom was like, "Girl, that's why you crying." And I'm like, "Yeah, girl, because I don't like when I tell you I don't like him, I don't like him." He was like 7 at the time. I'm like, "I do not like him." And my mom was like, "Girl, you think I like you every day?" And I was like, "You don't like me every day? Like, what's up with that?" But the fact that that's not normal, you know what I'm saying? And there's no one you could really go and talk to and say, like, I don't like my child today. Then that's stuff you hold into yourself, right? And then you just break. So then I started therapy myself. Now, I would also like to touch on how Kaiser Permanente, who's my health provider, if I in October, I felt like I needed to talk to somebody. And the first appointment I could get was December 22nd. Who I don't even remember why I wanted to talk to them in October. And now I had to wait till December 22nd. So I really feel like this conversation is so broad because health insurance matters. Because if you're with within the HMO, you have to stick within your selected providers, and then you can't get the help that you need. What are other resources for you? Janae's really good at that because she'll be finding stuff. I'll let her speak on that. Um, Phoebe has her journey that she also has started a blog. So I would love for her to speak on that as well because their stories, whereas it may not necessarily relate to you specifically, but the fact that there's someone who's being honest, it just lets you know like you're not alone in any struggles that you face. So Tanisha, being that you're the licensed clinical worker on the line, and when it deals with like insurance and things of that nature, like what kind of roadblocks do you face with that?
I think what you said, a lot of it is not necessarily getting the appointments, but the copay, depending on the plan that you have. I have several individuals who have to reach this ridiculous amount deductible before they're even able to, the insurance begins to kick in. So that becomes a deterrent for them. So we have a sliding scale because while it's important for you to address your mental health issues, it's still a business. So we still have to be able to get paid for the service. So I think that in itself becomes an issue of being able to afford it, even with the sliding scale. So for my individuals who aren't able to pay out of pocket, I kind of refer them to a lot of the online platforms. You have BetterHelp, which is an online platform where you're able to, see a therapist for a decreased rate as opposed to having to pay out of pocket. I also refer some of my individuals to OpenPath, another platform where you're able to get a licensed therapist or a social worker and pay at a decreased rate. But a lot of it's just insurance is not covering, or the plan that they're in isn't feasible for them to get the service or see the therapist as much as they would like. Sometimes you have to see a therapist twice a week, especially when you're dealing with complex trauma and you need that, and your service provider may not reimburse for that, so that becomes a hindrance. Or you're only able to get 6 sessions and then you have to pay out of pocket. Well, by the time we get to 6 sessions, we're really just diving into the meat and potatoes. So while you're here and then your insurance is like, oh well, we can't help you, that's not beneficial.
And so I did notice that like your job offers you like 6 sessions through your EAP programs. And I feel as though when they put this number, it's like, do you think I should be fixed within 6 sessions? Or, it kind of gives you like I'm confused because it's like now I feel like, oh my gosh, I can't get myself together because 6 sessions isn't enough time.
Right.
But
And
but I
that's a lot of questions I get from my people when we're doing like our consultation calls. They're like, well, how many sessions before I'm fixed? Well, you're not broken. Like that right there, let's change the narrative. You're not broken. You have experienced something that's causing you to do life in a different manner than the person next to you. But you're not broken. Like we're on this journey together. So, I may see someone and in 6 sessions, they feel like they have the coping skills. They feel like they have an understanding of what they're struggling with. And some people I've had on my caseload for a year and they're still not at their place where they feel like, okay, I can do this on my own. So it's a business at the end of the day. The insurance is like, we're only gonna cover this. And if you want to be fixed, then you gotta foot the bill. And I just don't think that that's fair.
Facts. So jumping to Kivaya, Kivaya's first event for her business, which I want you to go ahead and make sure you highlight that, drop your Instagrams and stuff, girl. Was a vision board party. Now, granted, last year we made these visions for 2020, and 2020 came in and showed up and showed out, and we may not have been able to thrive what we expected to do, but I did think that was a great way to kind of plan for your, you know, lay out your goals for the year. But she also had like a um sipping chat when we were outside by a pond, and we got to write down some affirmations and put them in a jar. That small little, it's just a little mason jar. I'm quite sure you can find them at the dollar store, and get some sticky notes and just write some positive words to yourself and just be able to open that and read it. What I really did like was that people to the left and right of us wrote us things as well. And if you knew somebody who was there, you could write something for them and send it to them. um that was great because you put them in a jar, you fold it up, and you pull it out, so you never know what you're gonna get that day. And it's kind of like, I feel like everybody should do that. I feel like everybody need to have that mason jar in their bathroom filled with sticky notes, so you can go ahead and post them on the mirror, so you can just go ahead and recite that to yourself, to give yourself the grace, because life is hard and people, the world is mean, and sometimes it's hard for us to navigate that. So Kivaya, like, what else is up for Evolve? Like, because being that you're not necessarily licensed, you are, on this journey to helping others.
So I'm licensed to I am licensed, but in the social work field. So social work is a little different, because it's so much different than a counselor, when you're licensed. So I can't see people privately in private practice, but I'm able to still, see people in a group setting, if that makes sense. But for Evolve, as far as what I have next is, I am doing another vision board party in January, not until the end of January. I need to figure all that out because COVID just really came and tried to wipe me out. But I'm going to do something in January. But I'm also thinking about doing now kind of the virtual things. I know Kiki did come to, I had like budgeting events. And so that's something that a lot of people have been asking me about, because at the beginning of the year, we all like to get our finances together. We want to save this amount by the end of the year. So that's something that I'm going to be continuing to do. But as Kiki said, the affirmation jar, a lot of people have been contacting me on Facebook, Instagram. Was like, can you please show us how to do that, or let us know how can we do this, and just give us some inspiration for how to do it on our own outside of doing that the sim and chat. So I am going to do a virtual event for like an affirmation Sunday. That's what we're going to call it, affirmation Sunday. I don't have too many details, but a Sunday with brunch and your own mimosas and affirmations. We're going to make it happen sometime in 2021. But as far as Evolve, right now, those are the only things that I have going on is the vision board party and the affirmation party. So, and I'm also working on a couple other things for mental health. My job actually is want me to actually start working more with clients, as far as like doing groups for clients with with that have mental health issues, to because what's happened is what you all were speaking to, a lot of clients don't have insurance anymore. They lost their jobs, they don't have insurance, they don't have people to talk to. And so also helping them in a group setting is easier, to for their needs to be met, as far as providing them with coping skills, providing them with like strategic plans that they can do on their own within the community, versus them having to pay out of pocket to go to a therapist, or the wait for Medicaid is so long for them to get into I work in DC, so it's called a core service agency. The wait list is 2 to 3 months for clients to be seen by a mental health professional. So we're starting a community of, it's a volunteer thing where social workers and I think it's in the licensed independent social workers as well as licensed graduate social workers are going to start groups where we're able to provide clients with the, coping skills, or provide them with certain services that they can utilize until they're able to get in a one-on-one session with a therapist. Just because, as like we already said, there a lot of patients, or a lot of clinicians are not taking new clients, and that's the thing that we see a lot. So I'm going to be helping out with that. So I am going to be taking away from Evolve for some time so I can focus on doing some community work.
Yes, girl. Give back to the community. I see you, girl. So, Phoebe, I know you started your natural housewife blog, and was that out of like is that like therapeutic to you? Is that something that during that time it's just like I get to release all these thoughts, maybe I can help somebody? Like how did that all come about?
So yes, it is therapeutic for me. I've always enjoyed writing, journaling mostly. It always helped me feel better. But in the age of technology and everything, I was like, I have to share this and I have to get this story out simply because in conversation, I'm a very transparent person. So I'm going to start with that. And like you, I will connect with someone and potentially share too much just because I trust too soon. Um, what I found in doing that is a lot of judgment. And it was like, okay, so my take is you've never gone through this yourself. Like, of the things we've shared, you mean to tell me you don't have any problems then? You don't experience any pitfalls. And I was just like, you know what, it's fine. Let me just take this to the internet, because there are people who go through things that I'm going through, because I do find them. I just don't find them as often as I would like. So that was my thought process behind the blog. And I actually had it for a few years, but I didn't do a whole lot with it because I was scared and I was nervous about how I would be seen. And so after losing a child, it is like at this point, nothing can feel or be any worse than this. So I'm going to do this and I'm going to watch it take off because it has no choice. So through it, I just blog about all my different experiences that I've had in the last year. And we got pregnant with twins in March, and they were born in October. And that was a journey that I was fearful the entire pregnancy, because I was 6 months in with our daughter's name was Nova. I was 6 months in with her, and everything was fine. It was a perfect pregnancy. I didn't have any issues until I did. And so with the twins, it was like every day I was holding my breath, and every appointment I was able to exhale. But then when the appointment was over, I was back to holding my breath. And I'm like, through sharing my journey with Nova, or my experience with Nova, I learned that there's a lot more women who actually not just have miscarriages. A lot of the women I knew had miscarriages, but I found other women who actually had stillbirths. And that kind of helped me just keep going every day, because if my thought process was, if I can bring these girls earthside, I can prove that you can still have your mental health intact, even though you're fearful of what could be, and life could still be great. So that's where I am with that. I try to also upload to Instagram to share my journey as well. And my blog is not just about motherhood, but it's about marriage and healing. Basically, everything we're talking about here today is what we all have struggled with in the African American community. So I want that, like Janae said, I want that to be more of a conversation, because we like to often hide and say life is perfect over here, I'm not going through anything, oh girl, you by yourself on that one. So that is my goal with the blog, is to show that I'm not perfect, and it's okay for you not to be perfect either.
Yeah, I was just going to say, hearing Phoebe, I think I'm pronouncing the correct speak, is I think a lot of the issue with our community is we feel the need to carry that strong Black woman myth. And I have to be strong. I have to carry the world on my shoulders. I can't be sad. I can't be depressed. I can't be frustrated. So when another woman comes to me and she's being transparent, it's difficult to receive what she's saying, because do I look weak if I say I understand what you're going through? And it can be exhausting having to carry that title as a strong Black woman. So I think the more we have these conversations that says, I've been broken and I survived, I've been hurt and I survived, it becomes easier for us to want to seek a therapist or seek a life coach, because now I'm not looked at as being weak, or I'm not looked at in this negative, notion.
Like, it's okay to have a team behind you. You don't necessarily have to try to figure it all out on your own. And I was having this conversation because I feel as though 9 times out of 10, if you're African American, you grew up in a single parent household where you watched your single parent, whether it be your mother or your father, carry everything on their own. And so if you feel like you can't carry everything on your own, then you have failed, right? But not knowing the battles that our parents may have been facing while trying to raise their children, as a single parent. So this conversation is like so important because it's like it's okay. Like if you need a team, you need a team. I feel like everyone needs a team, not just like specifically, but like we all need to like rally behind each other. Um, there's people, I mean, we all can throw our classy shade, okay? You may see somebody posting a little too much on the gram, and it's like, girl, sit down. But at the same time, that could be therapeutic for that person. So I think we all need to allow ourselves to understand like this is how this person is coping with whatever thing that they're dealing with. So speaking of the gram, as Phoebe has stated, Janae, please go ahead. How did you find out about all those mom pages that you send me, all those quotes that make me feel so good, like I'm not crazy?
Honestly, I just search. I just go with hashtags. I honestly don't know how I found the first one, but once I found the first mom blog or mom Instagram, it shows up in your discovery page. So now I just go to my discovery page, and if something sticks out to me, then I save it. If I look at their page, if I like what they're saying, I follow them, and then I just send them all your way.
Y'all should see my inbox filled with these Instagram pages. And it's like great little quotes that just kind of help you get through the day. So, Lita, let's come to you. When I first met you working with the mental health community, I mean with at the mental health day program, are you still in that field per se, or have you like moved on from working with those type of clients that we once worked with?
So I still work sort of in that sector, but just more with the homeless population and substance abuse awareness. I mean, it's a balance, but more so with the homeless and substance abuse arena at this point.
So my question to you is like, okay, I know for me, because I'm an emotional being. So we had some clients whose story was kind of like, like I just wanted to just do everything. I wanted to help that one person. So how are you able to kind of separate the fact that I have to be professional, like these are not my friends, I can't save everyone, and still give them like the great services that they need?
That's a great question. I'll say in the beginning, when I kind of first started in this field, I kind of struggled with that because I felt like I just wanted to help the world. But of course, I can only, do so much and just kind of have to find that balance. So just over time and just kind of speaking with people in the field and my mentor, um, definitely finding that balance and, finding that cutoff point to where, it's like you allow them to kind of navigate their own journey. um, you can give, suggestions or pointers to kind of guide them, but you kind of got to leave it where it's at. So, just pretty much just kind of putting the information out there, giving them the resources that they need, the tools that they need, and then just kind of piggybacking off of, where they're at, just meeting where they're at and kind of going from there. So it's definitely been a journey with that and, balancing that, but definitely have to set those boundaries. And just after, sessions that I do currently, I have to debrief. Um, whether it's like listening to music or meditation or some type of prayer, just to kind of release that and then put on the next phase for the next person that I have to encounter, and just being the best version of me that I can. I'm not gonna lie, I do have my days to where I just like don't want to be bothered, but I still have to give myself 100%. So every morning I listen to those, like motivational speakers, or like I listen to a gospel song every morning. It's called Double. It's a Guyana gospel thing, and it's like my motivation to kind of get me through my day. And definitely prayer and just that meditation time, and just finding that me time to debrief and be able to produce for the next person, because if I'm no good, and I'm not going to be good for the next person.
Yes, I most definitely like you saying you starting off your day with like the gospel songs, the meditation and stuff. I have a 9-year-old son who was clinically diagnosed with ADD, and you know, I have to always remind myself that he's not broken. Like, I don't have to fix him. Like, he just has to learn things a different way, or we have to speak to him a different way so we can try to get him focused. It's really hard. It's a lot of days where I'm just doing a lot of cussing, got a lot of yelling. Because while I understand at 33, he doesn't understand at 9. Janae always reminds me of this. Like, I have to think of it from their perspective, their age, and things of that. So it's like a lot of patience. But I do notice he brought meditation up to me. And so he's like, Mommy, can we meditate? And I'm like, you want to meditate? What you know about meditating? Like, he's such an old soul. But I do find that we have so much better, like the day is so much better when we start off like that. Um, he likes to go to sleep with like nature sounds and the rain. It's like calming to him. And it's like God, like you learn from your kids. Like, he's teaching me stuff. Like, I'm like, well, look, let me turn on these rain sounds to see if I can sleep through the night, because I'm having trouble sleeping. But what I also want to address is when noticing when your mental is off. Because I think people don't realize, like, I have been having trouble sleeping since for some years now. And what happens is that I've noticed that I just have developed anxiety. So in 2015, I lost my job. Since becoming a parent, I had never been out of work. So I felt, one, I failed because now I cannot provide for my kids by myself because I don't have a job. And initially when it happened, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, I lost my job. I needed to be away from this job anyways. It wasn't good for me. But I didn't realize how much it took a toll on me, that like that incident right there, right? So 2015 was just really rough. Lost my favorite cousin. I did get married. That was a highlight. But then, that next year of my marriage really suffered because I wasn't good. Like, I was all over the place. I just was angry. I was just trying to push him away as far as possible, but he just kept staying, and I didn't know why he ain't just leave. And so I was just like, gosh, like I'm really going through stuff and I'm not like processing it. I also like feel as though because I lost my cousin that year, I didn't I was not honest with myself because I was like, oh, he just locked up. Like that's what I just kept telling myself. Like I didn't want to accept the fact like he was gone, even though I went and claimed the body and went to the funeral home. I saw him in a casket, went to the funeral, all that. I just like, oh, like Tupac, he in Cuba or Mexico, whatever I could do to just help me get through the day to not really address that I was going through something. So, I say all this to say that when I did finally reach my breaking point, which I wish I would have known like leading up to the fact like that I was going through something, that I was going through something. But when I finally reached my breaking point, um I just was a emotional wreck, right? Like I just anything could make me cry. I was just crying. I was just angry for no reason. And I just wish that there was someone who was like, girl, like you need, you just probably need to talk to somebody and get your thoughts out, or finding ways to, you know, reclaim my peace basically. Because I also feel as though when you're the oldest, a lot falls on you. So you have to be responsible for your parents. My stepmother had a stroke in 2016. It's not even my mother, but it was like so much responsibility fell on me, because I'm my dad's oldest child. So basically that's my other mother. And I feel like I don't know how to set boundaries. I feel like people come to me and they ask me to do something and then I do it. Um, and then at the end of the day, I'm burnt out. So what do you say to someone like me who wants to be Captain Save the World, who does not know how to place boundaries, who does not know how to respect her time, and I just keep giving everybody a piece of me. And if you whoever, if you have suggestions, like because this is what we're trying to do, we're trying to give people tips on how to reclaim their peace, how to so you don't feel as though you are wrong when you say no. And Kivaya, go ahead.
So I have that same issue. Well, I'm working on that same issue. And I mean, I'm a professional in mental health, but I have my own therapist. So, I mean, I think that sometimes people have to forget, I mean, have to remember just because you are in this field to help and service people, you still have to get your own type of therapy as well, because sometimes you take on so much from other people and you have to fill yourself back up as well. And you need someone else that you can talk to. But so that's something that I have to work on is boundaries. I'm just like you. Oh, somebody asked me to do something. They live 2 hours away. I'm a drive. Why am I driving always 2 hours away? And then I'm tired and I'm exhausted. That doesn't make sense. But my advice to for you is to like when it comes to boundaries, you have to remember yourself. And that's something that I actually posted today, where we have to learn to make ourselves a priority. I don't care who I'm. It doesn't matter who it affects. Doesn't matter who it impacts. But when you continue to say yes, when you really want to say no, you create this pattern. And so this is the same pattern. And you treat people, the way that when you continue to say yes, when you want to say no, that's how people are going to treat you, because they know that you're going to run to their rescue every single time they need it. They know that you're going to always say yes. Even when you could explain to them, oh, I'm so tired. I had a long day. The kids was getting on my nerves. My husband was getting on my nerves. Work was getting on my nerves. Oh, well, girl, I had this long day that, first of all, I need to stop you because I just told you that I had a long day. And I'm not in the ability to be able to be your savior right now. I need to deal with me. And so I think that that's something that we have to remind ourselves that look, regardless who it's going to hurt, and it's going to be this is new for you, it's new for me to tell people no, to change my pattern. But like Miss Trice said earlier today, you have to learn to change your behavior. You have to feed yourself that narrative that look, I'm going to take care of Kiki first. If you feed yourself that every single day, then eventually your behavior is going to catch up to that. But if you continue to operate in a mindset where I am I want to be I want to save everybody. I want to be there for everybody. That's what your actions is going to continue to be, just that. So you have to, one, put yourself first. Another thing is sometimes you have to reevaluate what you can do and what you cannot do. Sometimes you can assist a person, but you can't assist them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Maybe Mondays and Tuesdays would be your days where you can assist people, and then the rest of the week is for your family, or the rest of the week is for your children specifically. But you have to allow yourself time, and a time for what you're going to say yes to, when you're going to say yes, and when you're going to say no. And then the last thing that I would say about creating boundaries is basically, um the last thing that I would say about creating boundaries is, sometimes what I had to do is I had to take a month for myself. A month. And this was an assignment that I got from my therapist. And she said, every time I talk to you, you're doing something for someone else. Every time I talk to you, you're going somewhere. But when are you going to spend time for yourself? I want you to take a whole weekend or a whole day, even if it's a half a day, and do absolutely nothing for nobody, not for your kids, not for your husband, not do absolutely nothing for nobody, only for yourself, and only if you want to do it. And so I started off with that, just that, a half a day. Then a half a day turned into a whole day. Then a whole day turned into a whole week. That was hard, but you have to, get yourself into that. You have to set small goals. So you might not say no 100 times this month, but you might just say no one time. That's one time less than what you did last month. So I would say set goals for yourself, and give yourself grace. You're not going to get it right every single day. You're not going to get it right overnight. It didn't take you overnight to say you want to save everybody, or you always want to be there for people. So it's going to take you just as long time to change that pattern as the same way it did for you to get there.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think all of that's great. And I also think it's important to remember you can't pour from an empty cup. If you don't have it, what do you have to give to anyone else? If your cup is empty, you are just operating off of fumes, and that's no good to anybody. So you have to forgive yourself for being who you needed to be at that moment. And I think so many times we get caught up in yesterday, I said yes. Yesterday, I was there for that person. Well, that's who you needed to be yesterday when your cup was full and you had all of the energy and you had all of the know how. But today, if you're not in that space, it's okay to say no. And I think we also have to get in a position where we say, this is what I need for me to be healthy. This is the self-care that I'm practicing, and I don't have to justify or explain it to anyone. My no is my no. And if you don't accept it, that is your baggage to carry. That is not mine. Oftentimes we get in this power struggle of, I said this, but let me tell you why I said this to make it a little comfortable for you to receive or for you to handle. That's not for you to do. So forgive yourself. And like Kiva said, you have to operate from a place of grace, because if you're not giving yourself that grace, you're going to always feel this burden that you have to carry, and it's not fair to you. Set yourself up for success. Set those SMART goals. Make sure it's something that's measurable and obtainable and something that you can do. That way it's not, you don't feel like a failure because I said I was going to set this real ambitious goal, knowing that I didn't have the time or the space or energy to create it or carry it out rather.
I just wanted to piggyback on what they were saying. Give yourself grace. But also what helps me, because I also struggle with boundaries. I feel like everybody struggles with boundaries, but being okay with saying no, or being okay with setting boundaries. And sometimes you're not going to feel okay from the inside. You're going to need an outside person saying that it's okay to say no. So here I'm back with my Instagram, because I follow all of the Instagram pages. And some days I'm scrolling through my feed and there's someone in there who's saying, you know, it's okay to say no. No is the answer. No, period. There's You don't have to justify it. You don't have to explain why you're saying no. If you're saying no because you don't feel like it, that's okay, because that's the answer. And when you're constantly seeing that it's okay to say no, it's becoming ingrained inside of you. So then you're more likely to say no. And another thing is, you don't have to give an answer right away. If someone asks you a question or asks you to do something or a favor, I'll get back to you. You don't have to say yes or no right away because you don't know how you're going to feel. You have to, them your pros and cons list. So, how am I feel if I do this? Do I really want to do this? And once you figure out what you want to do, if you can do it, then sure. And if you don't want to do it, then don't.
So one of the things about setting boundaries that I had to realize was that I deserved to reserve space for myself. I was worthy of putting me first. I think it's great that we acknowledge that we need to place these boundaries and why we need to do it. But I think part of the missing conversation is that we are worthy of that time, because so often we will say, I'll do that later. I'll get to that later, whatever that is for you. And then before you know it, something as simple as a nail appointment that, helped you get through is pushed back 2 weeks, and you're like feeling away because that was your outlet. I know for me, I started out not being able to say no. One of the people that I needed to say no to was my mom, because we talked often, all the time, especially when I moved away. I mean, morning, noon, and night. But one of the things I started to do, and not just because of her, but just how my life was going and the access other people had to me, was at 8:30, my phone goes on do not disturb. I do not need to answer. I don't need to be responsible for explaining why I didn't answer. I just didn't answer. That has since led me to not give excuses for why I'm not available. If someone texts me, I don't readily text back anymore. My availability started to become limited because I realized that, one, I want to focus on what's important to me, and that's being a wife and a mom. That is my top priority next to myself. And I can't be all that I want to be for them if I'm constantly giving to everyone else outside of the household. And more than that, I started to think, you know what? I wake up every day and I try to be the best wife, mom, when I was working, employee, sister, daughter, all of that. So because I give my best in all of those areas, when I need time for me, I can take my vacation days, so to speak, and enjoy that time. So if you do find yourself struggling with saying, no, I can't do this, or I'm not available, and even just making the excuse to make it a little bit more digestible for them, start as simple as just not being in contact and not being available, and then go from there. Because once you start placing those other things that are a priority to you, it becomes more enjoyable, it becomes a necessity, and then those people learn how to respect that time that you have for yourself and whatever other things and people you want to have that time for.
Great information, ladies. So definitely, so I want to say that it's okay to be a helping hand, but you have to know your limits. So I know people get caught up like, oh, I want to help, and then I mean, until you get to a point where you're ready to change, or you're to a point where you're like getting burnt out, like this is overwhelming, this is too much for me, like I need to find my zen, my peace. Then that's when you make those changes. But definitely self-care, you have to aid yourself. We have a tendency to put ourselves at the bottom of our priority list for whatever reason, whether it's kids, whether it's your husband, whether it's your job. But you have to make time for yourself. So we can't reiterate it enough. Self-care is such a valuable tool. You have to put it in your everyday agenda. It just has to be. It takes practice, it takes patience, and then you just got to be compassionate about it and just speak it. keep speaking it into existence until it occurs.
You hit the nail right on the head because that's what I was going to say. I think it is so important that we practice self care and being deliberate and practicing that self care, because self care is going to help with those physical symptoms that we begin to experience, that irritability, that anger, the anxiety Kiki, spoke on, feeling frustrated. We know that when we're not practicing self care, there's the mental health symptoms. There's those interpersonal relationships begin to fail because we're not taking care of ourselves. So definitely making sure that you are being deliberate and you are setting that time aside for you, whether that's just to sit in the car and listen to your music by yourself, or practicing that self-care. Because when you don't do that, everything else in life begins to fall apart.
All
No,
right, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that one of the things that would help me out with boundaries, and like everyone was saying about self care before they came in, I was about to say something about that too. I don't know what time you get up, or just for anyone. A lot of times, I know for us now, especially with social media, the first thing that I used to do was get up in the morning, got my phone, and I'm looking on social media. And I'm like, why am I doing? I do, like, I literally had to sit one day and account for what I do all day long. And this is not just for us on online, this is for anyone. Just really take a day and really account for your time. What do you do that day? How much? And so when they Apple updated the phone for the screen time, I said, "Ooh, I'm on this app too long throughout the day." And I'm like, "This doesn't make any sense. Why am I on here for 4 hours when I could have been using that time to do something else?" And so that was another thing, not only setting boundaries for with people, but setting boundaries with yourself. When it comes to, you might be doing something and taking all of this time, but was it productive? Did what you Is this what you're doing? Was this productive? Is this really some of the things that we do is not really self-care. It's actually taking more energy from us than actually pouring anything into us. And so that was another thing I I wanted to say when it comes to, like, taking time for yourself. When you take time for yourself, also make sure that it's productive. Make sure that you're doing something. And then I know you say a lot of times people reach out to you, or people reach out to me, and they reach out to me on social media. Hey, I meant to tell you, I couldn't text you, but I see you on social media. Can you do this for me today? No, I can't. I can't do it. I can't do this. And and that's why I do with what I think it's Phoebe, right? What she does, she puts her phone on do not disturb. At 8 o'clock, don't call me. I'm grandma. I'm in the bed. Don't call me, don't text me. And I will get back to you tomorrow after my phone goes off of do not disturb at 8 a.m. I'm up at 5:30, but from 5:30 until 8 o'clock, that's my time to go to the gym, to say my prayer, to listen to my music, to do my prayer call with my supervisor. And after that, I can do what I can deal with that text message that I got at 8:31 when my phone went on do not disturb at 8:30.
When I tell y'all do not disturb is the best thing ever. So if you have a if you have an iPhone and you have the bedtime feature, you can set your bedtime. The phone reminds you like, hey, it's getting close to bedtime. Now I'm turning myself into wind down mode. So you're not even getting the alerts from social media or the text messages coming through unless they're in your favorites list. And it's the best thing because you don't even like, I forget that I had turned that feature on, and I'm like, oh, my phone dry as a mug. Okay, well, time to go to bed. And I'm like, oh yeah. They be like, girl, I called you. I'm like, oh, you did? And they was like, yeah, it went straight to voicemail. I'm like, hmm. And I was like, oh yeah, girl, because it's my bedtime. Do not disturb. That's what cut on. And I really think that, so I started that like with the latest update where it has this wind down feature. And I mean, honestly, it really is great for me because I don't even see your text message. So when you coming at me with your negativity or you're trying to tell me that you need advice, and then I'm going to give you all this good advice, and then you're going to do whatever you want to do. So you just wasted moments of my life telling you what I think you should do. You're going to still ultimately do whatever you want to do. I could just deal with that tomorrow morning when I open the phone. I also around my birthday, I don't know what happened. I just got real depressed. Birthdays are really a big deal to me too. Like, I mean, I celebrate whole weeks. I didn't deactivate my social media. I signed out and I deleted the apps off my phone because I didn't want to be on social media, right? But then I do something for the school. So I needed my social media so I could post something for the school. But I still don't have the notifications turned on. So I'll get to it when I see it or whatever. Like the app is all the way on the last page. So that way it's like I'm not really focusing so much on social media. There's like bye. But go ahead, Tanisha. I know you had your hand up.
Lost my train of thought.
Oh, my bad, girl.
Oh, consistency. I think that is something that we have to make sure that we're doing. We're talking about, putting on the do not disturb or setting those boundaries. But part of it is just being consistent because we teach people how to treat us. So if people are observing us treating ourselves like trash, they are going to inherently do the same thing. Because if you don't care enough about yourself to make time for yourself, if you don't care enough about yourself to put you first, why should I then put you first, or whatever the case is. So make sure that you are being consistent in whatever the expectation is you're setting for the people that you're interacting with, being consistent in the expectation that you are setting for yourself so that people begin to fall in line. And given I'm a major supporter of those if and statements, if I tell you this and you don't do that, then this is what's going to happen. I've made you aware and you now know what the consequences. So you can't feel no type of way. If I told you that if you call me after 8:30, I'm not going to respond. You can't feel no type of way because I've already told you. I've set the expectation. You need to follow through, and I'm gonna follow through on what I said that I was going to do.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank y'all. Okay. Some of these things I'm already doing, so I'm very proud of myself. Round of applause. Okay. Recently I said no, and it felt good. I was like, "Ooh, no, ooh, no." Like it was just felt real good. Just had to keep saying it because I was like, "Ooh," I said no, and I didn't give an explanation. It was just like N-O period, like that. Just like no, no, I would not like to. No. It feels good, y'all. Y'all should try that. With meaning though. Don't just say no and you gotta really say it to somebody so you can feel good. Make you feel good. All right. So mental health, right? People probably look at mental health as like, toxic relationships. Um, but it's also just like all relationships. Like it could be a working relationship, it could be with your family, friendships. I think it's also important to know that when you set goals for yourself and you don't meet the goal at the said time, that's a toll on your mental health because you may have felt like you didn't give yourself a reasonable goal. So for people who struggle with like, you just anxiety. So what happened with me, I guess maybe I had a little bit of anxiety, but I got stuck in the elevator. So I tell this story to people. I got stuck in the elevator and I was in there for like 45 minutes. I'm already claustrophobic. Then when the fire department finally came to get me out the elevator, I just knew I was going to die like Final Destination 2. So I was scared to get out the elevator because I just knew the elevator was going to close on me. But ever since I got stuck in that elevator, tunnels is a problem for me. Like driving through Baltimore to go, you got to go through a tunnel. I have an anxiety attack. I went on a trip for my birthday last year. There were slides. They tried to get me to go on the slide. I swear I was having a heart attack because I was just like, I'm not gonna make it out the other end of the slide. I can't be in a closed in space right now. So I say this to say I don't know how I'm going to overcome that. Like, I mean, I try to tell myself, like, girl, you're going to be okay. Every elevator's not going to crash on you. If you do get stuck, you're not going to die. That was just a movie. You could go down that slide. It's going to open at the end. But that's kind of like, so since then, I kind of, myself in life, I feel like I'm in this tunnel. So that's why I feel like I'm anxious because every day is like I'm trying to achieve a goal, but it's just like it's the light at the tunnel so far away. So I'm just like nervous. I'm always on edge. And I'm just being like letting my listeners know everything. Like I'm not perfect. Like I'm struggling too daily. And I'm not here to on this conversation to tell you like I got it all together. I'm still trying to figure it all out myself. But So recognizing like what constitutes as mental health, I think is really important. So would like you all agree, mental health isn't just one little thing, it's a variety of topics.
Anybody else? Okay, I'll go. I want to say, I think that it's important to recognize when we talk about mental health is just a state of being. It's a state when one person, an individual, is able to recognize their own abilities and how they're able to cope with life in general. I think that we're in this day and age where we're in this whole inclusion, kind of day and age. And we want to throw everything on social media. We want to throw everything on TV. This is what mental health looks like. We look at Empire, they were highlighting what bipolar looks like. They give you this extreme of what bipolar looks like. We look at, all of these shows where they're now highlighting mental health, and it makes it difficult for people to identify with struggling with mental health because I may not look like Andre, from Empire, but I am having some, highs and some lows. I may not look like this person from this show because this is all that we know mental health to look like. And that's not what it is. Like you said, I've set this goal for myself and I wasn't able to obtain it. So now I'm experiencing a low point. I'm experiencing some depression. I'm not engaging in activities that were once pleasurable for me. I am sleeping a lot. I'm not eating as much. Those are signs of depression. We know that we're in the winter months, and we know that when it gets cold outside, the sun isn't out as much. We know that we're dealing with seasonal affect disorder where people are a little more depressed. This is real. So, not putting a label so much on what you're experiencing, but being able to tune on and say, I'm not at my normal baseline. I'm a little more irritable. I'm a little more stressed. I don't know how to cope with this. I once was able to do this when I was 25, but now at 33, that's not working for me. I need to update my toolkit, and that's okay.
I'll go. I mean, kind of just to piggyback off of what was just said, because I think that is true. That just the world in general, like television, social media, has forms mental health to be something a lot of times that is associated with a negative connotation, and it gives off this specific perspective, or just coming from our generations. For example, my grandparents and my aunties, they didn't believe, oh, mental health, no, that's not real. It's you have to be crazy, or you got to be in the nut house, just for the lack of a better terms, that's what was said for mental health. And so it took for me to go through my own experiences of depression. Okay, look, this is not right. I'm usually the bubbly one. I'm usually happy. I'm usually always positive. Okay, now I don't want to get out of bed. I don't even want to eat no candy. I don't even want to, even talk on the phone with anybody. That's not normal for me. That's not normal behavior. So I knew personally that something was wrong or something was off, that I was going through a depression. Me specifically, I knew that I was going through a depression a couple years ago when I found out about that I have infertility issues. And so that was the worst of my depression. And as I'm working in the field as a mental health provider. I'm like, wow, anyone, there's no characteristic of one person who can have a mental health issue and who not. The president, all these other people that are in higher seats in the White House or whatever, they can have mental health issues. And I think that's the problem. It's the society has made it seen as people who are poor, or people who are in poverty, or people who are on drugs, or people who have experienced such traumas have mental health. Mental health can look like anybody, and mental health does not always have to be associated with you having a diagnosis. Some people don't have a diagnosis, they still have mental health issues. And it could be situational. It could be, okay, you went into acute stress because somebody died, or someone close to you died, and now you're grieving. And that grieving, you're in denial. And with denial comes depression. With denial comes a whole bitterness. It comes a whole bunch of other things. And so therefore, I think that we have to, as a community, we have to understand that mental health is not one person. And it doesn't look like there's no characteristic, there's no way to characterize it that it's going to look like this. And I just say that to go along with what everyone else has said, social media, I love social media for certain things, but social media and television entertainment has caused us to sweep a lot of things under the rug and has caused people to negatively associate something which is as real as mental health as something that it's not, and people don't even recognize that they are really off or they really have something going on that they need to talk to somebody and that it is okay. And I'm just babbling because to me it is it's very important that this topic gets out there because it's really sad how many people are struggling with mental health. Even some of our parents, they don't talk about it. Oh no, it's okay. My parents told us not to. No, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm talking about it because I don't want nobody to get abused. I got abused as a kid. And when I have children, we're going to talk about it because I don't want them to go through what I personally went through. And so I mean, I'm sorry, y'all, it's kind of making me a little hot because it's just the way that it is. And I'm glad that we're having this conversation because people just really they don't talk about it. And it really makes me angry that we see on TV, oh, this is what depression looks like. Take this no, it does not. That's not always true. So for anybody that's listening, if you are not feeling the same way that you usually feel over a course of a couple of days, it is you need to get some, seek some type of attention, speak to a friend, speak to someone to get some type of help.
So what I wanted to kind of throw out there really fast, while we're on this topic of mental health, is it is okay to believe in the Lord and seek a therapist. I think that there has become this notion that I can't believe in the Lord and go see a therapist when we're dealing with mental health. If you got high blood pressure, you got diabetes, if you got a physical health issue, you have no problem with going to the PCP or whatever other doctor you go to. But when we come and we're discussing mental health, it is like, I'm gonna pray this away. Listen, the Lord put the therapist here for you to go and talk to. Please talk to them. There is a page on Instagram, I think it's God in Therapy. They go hand in hand. Like, please stop thinking that you cannot speak to a therapist because you are in the church. That is the most asinine thing that I think is out there. And I'm done.
Girl, hold on, wait. Janae, you could go right after this because it is oh my goodness, Tanisha. I just was having this conversation. I said, my husband, we go back and forth, okay? Because he's like, girl, you just weak. And I'm like, weak? Nigga, do you know who I am? I'm the queen. What you talk about? And so I did this whole journey in this ministry, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, because I need to know God on a personal level for myself, right? And because my husband would just be like, just pray about it, just pray about it. And I'm like, I'm praying and I'm not getting what I need. Okay. So now I'm feeling like God's letting me down. Okay. And then I'm feeling like I'm going freaking crazy. Like it's me, like I'm batshit crazy or something. And it was like there was no one to talk me off the ledge. Like, no, girl, you are okay. And I was saying, I do feel like church makes you feel like you cannot have a therapist because the Lord should be your therapist, right? But guess what? When I'm talking to the Lord, I'm not hearing him as soon as I need to hear him. I don't like, we pray. I'm really I tried really hard because I did go through a period of lack of faith. You know what I'm saying? I was really like on the Jesus chain, and then I fell off the Jesus chain because I didn't think God was there for me when I needed him most. So I'm so happy that you said that because God and therapy are two different things. Okay. Like you said, God put the therapist here so you could talk to him. Just like he created the man to create the computer, to create the social media accounts. That's why God made the person to go to the school to get the degree to be the therapist. So go talk to the therapist. Thank you for saying that, girl. It touched me, girl, about to make me cry because I'm just like, look, it's not that I don't believe in God. It's not that I don't have the faith. It's just that I need somebody to help me navigate through these emotions, these feelings that I have never felt before. Girl, amen. Go ahead, Janae. Amen.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of going to therapy, I think that there is a miscommunication or people just don't completely understand, like going to a cognitive behavioral therapist and going to a psychiatrist are two different things. And I think, which I think someone said before, is like you think it's this huge mental health is this huge diagnosis when really it could be like, you're suffering with anxiety. Like having anxiety is a mental health issue. And it's not just, oh, I'm worried about this one specific thing. This issue is in my mind running constantly. Like it's no interruption. I'm constantly thinking about it over and over throughout the day. Even if it's not in my forefront, it's in the background, still spinning and going. So when you go to a cognitive behavioral therapist, they give you tools to stop those thoughts or to break those thoughts. So, I mean, it could be like talking to a friend. They're not your friend, they're your therapist, but you need to talk to someone and, like you said, work through those emotions or work through those thoughts or figure out why you're having those thoughts. A lot of times, thoughts are irrational. So, you just need someone to say, okay, I hear you thinking about those thoughts. Okay, and why are you thinking about those, and why is this the end result of whatever the issue is. So I think Tanisha said that she was a CBT, so I mean she can go into more detail about that, but that's what I get from my therapist.
And um you know just being on edge about things, like for instance, like I told you all, I've been having trouble sleeping since 2015. Okay, I mean, I probably got PTSD from that job. So at work I'm always on eggshells because it's like, of course you never want to be in that position where you don't have, you're not in control, like you don't you lost your job. So last year saw a psychiatrist. I was seeing one psychiatrist, and then I don't know what happened. They said she wasn't going to be back till July 2020. I'm like, well, damn, that's a long ass time, girl. What's going on with you? So I saw this other psychiatrist, and she gave me like a sleeping pill. And I keep telling my friends, like, yeah, I'm gonna take the sleeping pill because I just need some sleep. Like I just want to sleep, right? Okay, but these are reasons why I can't take the sleeping pill. Because one, I'm gonna take the sleeping pill and I'm not gonna wake up because I'm gonna get all the sleep. Okay. Two, I'm take the sleeping pill, and that's the day that my child gonna choke on their saliva while they sleeping and be snoring and die. Like these, you know what I'm saying? So this is like what happens because it's just like your mind is just constantly in overdrive, always thinking about something. And there's times where it's like maybe I did get a good night's sleep because I did something that was kind of like self-care for myself, and I just took that moment to myself. So I'm gonna tell you a story when I was quote unquote capping, right? So my husband made these plans and told me he was going on a trip. And I'm like, well, I mean, shouldn't we have had a conversation? Like, you just gonna go on a trip? Like, I don't know anything about this trip. So I was like, well, he was like, well, I've rented a car, blah blah blah. I said, well, I hope you got a car big enough for your kids to fit because they going with you. So of course I say that, but that's just like in a passionate moment. Like, I'm trying to act like I'm big girl on campus. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're not gonna leave me here with these kids because I got them all, Monday through Friday doing school. I'm trying to work. I'm now in school myself. Like, so I'm like, nah, I need a break. Well, when he made the plans for the kids to go, I was like, who told you to do that? That's not what the thing was. I was telling you not to go. That's what I was saying. Not telling you to take my damn kids. But, as we led up to it, I was just like, oh my God, like I cannot think positive thoughts. I'm like, oh my God, something's going to happen. They're going to lose something. He's going to lose a kid. The kid's going to get sick. It's coronavirus, like all these things, all these negative thoughts. And it's just like, girl, I wish they would go away again. It's like you just have to get yourself over that hump. You get what I'm saying? I had thought of every negative possibility that could have happened. They came back, they were safe and sound, nobody was sick, everybody electronics was good. But it's just like building up to them going, I swear, like I was just like, he don't gotta take them. I'm just going to have them. I'm just going, suck it up. But that's where it was like, I ain't necessarily say no, but I was like, you gotta take your kids. And then he took the kids, and that was important. That was a real big important moment for me. And I got to go out and have wine, and it was nice. So I say all that to say, like, even when you be capping, you saying stuff just just because you talking off at the mouth. It's really important for you to just, because if I would have told him he didn't have to take the kids, then there could be another incident that we run into like this, and then I'm gonna always be stuck with the kids. So now it's like, well, you did it before. You was able to keep the kids safe, and they had a good time, whatever the case may be. And I got to just have me time. It wasn't long enough though. That's what I felt like. I felt like they came back too soon. It was like, go back. Bye. Go ahead, Phoebe.
So I'm the same way, and we have these newborn twins, and they're in here with me. I was like, I'm gonna do this podcast, and he's gonna have the kids. It's gonna be great, and then it all hit the fan, and I was like, I have to get out there because it's not gonna stop until I place my hands on it. It was a little rough, but I'm still learning how to not let my anxiety get the best of me either, because I have the same thoughts or I have running thoughts, like Kiki has, about what could go wrong. I mean, right now I have a setup in the living room because the girls are up at whatever time of night, and it's just easier. But when my husband comes to get one of them because they just won't stop, I'm like, he's gonna take her and lay her on his chest, and then she's gonna roll off the bed, and then what? And how are we gonna explain this? And my mind just keeps going. And it's like, while I do have them here with me now, I do have moments where I let go and I let him handle it, because one, he's a parent too. That's another thing. Like, I didn't have these kids by myself. I didn't go into this by myself. So I have to let him be dad, and I have to allow him to figure it out, just like I have to figure it out. I think when it comes to parenting, the onus is on the woman, because we have them and everything. We birth them, and nobody knows but us. But we figure it out too, and I do apologize, but we figure it out. And so dad has to have those learning curves too, and it's going to be okay, and they're going to come back alive and well, and everything is going to be fine. So I'm right there with you, Kiki. Like, we just have to learn to let go, and it's going to be okay.
Yes, yes. Because I swear I have contradicting moments all the time. Because I'm just like, they gonna go, oh, and they gonna die. They gonna do, and they gonna be fine. Like, it's just like, oh my goodness. Go ahead, Tanitra.
And I was gonna say, I mean, even aside from the parenting aspect of things, just kind of learning to control our negative thoughts. I think so many times we get so caught up in our head and those thoughts that we have in our head, we begin to spiral out of control. So I think part of it is learning to ask yourself, is there any information for this thought that I'm having, or is there any information against this thought I'm having? And the more we're able to challenge those thoughts, the better we get with managing those thoughts and being able to decrease the anxiety, that's associated with those thoughts. Stop living in our heads. I'm feeling this way. Why am I feeling this way? Have I experienced something where he took the kids somewhere, or I told somebody something and I had a negative experience associated with that? Let me address that. When we're able to get to the root cause of some of our feelings and some of our thoughts, then we're able to better manage the feelings that are associated with whatever we're thinking and feeling.
So there is I actually host book clubs every other month. So there is a book that I actually just read. And I read it last month, and it goes to what I can never Miss Trice. I'm just gonna call her Miss Trice. Said the book is called Get Out of Your Head, and it's a really good book. It's by Jenny. Her name is, I can't think of her last name, but it's called Get Out of Your Head. And so one of the things in the book that she really talked about was how we are held captive by our thoughts. And a lot of time our negative thoughts, or just our thoughts in general, shape our behavior. As most of us know, what we have experienced in our past also shapes how we, you know, what we do in our future, basically. And so the book is really, really good. That is a suggestion that I suggest for anyone, anyone who is spiritual as well. It has some spiritual components in there as well. But the book also has like a workbook that goes along with it. And you're able to do that along with reading the book. And it's really, really good because I had no idea how I thought like, wow, I didn't think that I thought this about myself, or I didn't think that me thinking this one thing about this specific situation has turned my perspective into this. And now I'm already planning for this outcome when this didn't even happen. So I'm in my mind planning that this is what's going to happen. And then sometimes I'm talking to myself, oh well, this is what I'm gonna say if this happened. Why am I even thinking like that when B didn't even happen? A happened, but B didn't happen. So why am I thinking about a consequence to B when we haven't even got there yet? So the book kind of really it really helped me out with that, and also taught me how to kind of live in the moment. Stop trying to live in the future for something that hasn't even occurred. Like living in the moment, like everyone already said, dealing with the issue right then and there, instead of trying to you know, deal with what the consequence might be, because that perspective that we have is very off, if something didn't already happen. So that's just a little bit. I mean, that's just a recommendation that I have. I recommend anyone to read it. I'll read it with you again. It's really good. It's a really good book. But I'll put the information in the chat so Kiki can give it out.
Thank you, because I did do that Bible plan, the get out of your head Bible plan. I did do that. I should read the book. I really should. But I do not want to keep anyone because it is a Sunday evening. So what I would like to do, is there anything that you all wish to speak on that we did not really touch on that you wanted to talk about? Then we will go with each person will give a tip for how to reclaim your peace, your time, your self care, whatever you do that works for you. Granted, there I know we all probably experience a moment where you know our mental health is questioning. We have those anxiety attacks, those negative thoughts, whatever the case may be. But how do you bring yourself back? And then I'm gonna ask y'all a question that's unrelated to this topic because this was kind of heavy and we got ended on a happy note.
The only thing that I would say is for to give advice to people who may be like, for example, maybe in Maryland or DC or Virginia, for individuals who are looking for therapy, who may be on a wait list. What are some resources, or what is something that they can, like, where's some resources that they can get access to? Because some people don't even know where to access mental health services. That's a question that I get all the time. So one of the things I would say is there is a lot of people do want Black therapists because they feel like they can relate to a Black therapist. There is a
Mhm.
website, I think it's Psychology Today. You can look up therapists in the area. You can look at their credentials. You can look up if they're accepting new clients. You can also look up their profile, their information. You can also select African American. You can you can narrow the demographics to fit you, or to
Mhm.
fit maybe if they're a licensed clinical, like if they're a licensed social worker, or if they're a licensed practitioner, counselor, a licensed counselor. You can look up their credentials. That's and that's for anywhere, any area that you're in. I know I specifically work in DC. DC, there's something called core service agencies. And so or you can call a number called Access Helpline. Access Helpline, you can call that number. It's a 1-800 number. And that's for DC residents, if they have DC Medicaid, and they will connect you to a mental health provider that has the earliest appointments available, or also they will tell you somewhere that's closest to your address that's accepting new clients.
So what
And
I
that's
will Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. So what I will say is the podcast does have a Facebook discussion group. So when the episode drops, I will also mention that the episode's coming out and then create a discussion group for people to come and have a conversation. So questions like that can be answered via that. So of course I would love if you have not already joined the discussion group to do that so that if someone has a question that they want to ask you specifically or they want to engage with you, they can do so in on that platform. So it's on Facebook. It's a private group, so I have to accept you to come in because like I said, I always wanted to be a judgment free zone. So that way I can monitor and facilitate exactly like who's in the group getting this information. So all that information, Kivaya, if you can. So ladies, what are some tips that you could give to our listeners that you do to best practice, your self-care, reclaiming your peace, your time? We're going to start with Kivaya, then go to Tanitra, Phoebe, Lita, and then end off with Janae, and then I have a random topic for you all.
So for me, to reclaim my peace, some of the things that I do enjoy journaling, and it could be journaling just about my day, journaling about just something that makes me happy, or journaling about a show, just or doing poetry, anything. I journal because I feel like when you journal, you're able to express your feelings. You're able to write it down on paper. Another thing that I do is, of course, I do affirmations. Affirmations, I fill myself up with affirmations daily. That's something that I love to do if I'm feeling sad or if I'm feeling frustrated. I, pull out an affirmation out of my affirmation jar, or I just recite affirmations to myself. I like to read. But for me, one of the things that I really enjoy doing for me to reclaim my peace is exercising, and exercising something that's more rigorous, not just walking, but maybe like boxing or maybe a hit program, because a hit is high intensity workouts. And so I like to do that because it allows me to release that energy, that maybe that negative energy, I can put it into something else, kind of like a defense mechanism. I can put it into something that's more constructive. And so that's, those are the things that I really enjoy. And I listen to music while I'm exercising because I feel like music can bring you to a different place. It can uplift you even if it's gospel or if it's just something inspirational, not necessarily trap music or anything like that, but something that can uplift me. So my go-to is usually gospel or just maybe R&B. I love R&B, and I'll probably give you a karaoke show while I'm listening to R&B.
Yes, Mariah.
So for me, when it is being, or when I'm being deliberate about reclaiming my space, reclaiming my time, it's about being okay with being selfish and putting myself, and just making sure that I'm being deliberate and taking time for myself. Because if I'm empty, I have nothing to give to my husband, I have nothing to give to my daughter, I have nothing to give to my clients. And then, very much like he just said, practicing those affirmations, I'm a strong believer in those I am statements because I feel like whatever follows I am becomes starts to look for me. So I engage in those I am statements while I'm driving to work or I'm driving somewhere, practicing those I am statements, reminding myself of who I am and why I am the way I am, and that nobody can take away or take anything from me. That helps me to reclaim my space and reclaim my time.
Um, some of the things that I do to reclaim my time daily is I get up early. Um, I have that time to set the tone for the day. And with 3 young kids, I also make sure we get out of the house because being in the house all day will inadvertently have me losing my mind. So I will make sure we get out the house. Getting up early, like I said, sets the tone for the day, and I'm able to get all the things done before the kids get up. So if I need to make any phone calls, I prioritize all of that. That helps my day be great, and helps me or reminds me that I am capable of creating a great day for myself and in turn my family.
I'm very, very transparent, and I'm about protecting protecting your peace, protecting my peace. And so things that I do to just kind of help me to kind of stay in that mode is scheduling daily me time. I think that's just important. Definitely meditation, relating to something spiritual, talking it out with my best friend or a friend, someone that I can confide in to kind of bounce ideas. Like, am I going crazy? Like, what's going on with me? Just speaking about it, speaking it helps instead of submersing it in the subconscious, because then, you burn it for for that moment. But then, something can trigger it with a different situation. And then you lashing out on that person, and they're like, "Whoa, where that come from?" So it's definitely good to have that talk with someone that you can confide into with whatever's going on. If it's not in that moment, just setting that time, whether it's at the end of the day or in the middle of the day, whatever's feasible. And then just doing like small projects. Just the smallest thing is laughter. Laughter is good for the soul. I definitely practice gratitude. That's key for me. It helps me to just kind of navigate through my day. Um, and just, personal growth. It starts at one step at a time. So those are just some key factors that help me, and I hope that it will help someone else.
Some of the tips that I have would be, especially for moms or parents, is alone time. Just being with yourself, even if it's for 10 minutes, you just having that time to be by yourself and scheduling that time in. Um, Another thing is to actually, have your team or a group of friends that you that's the goal is for you guys all to communicate and get things off your chest, just to make sure you're not letting those thoughts sit in or stay inside. I know Kiki, like, we talk every day. We have our own little group, and some days, we talk all day, and then some days we don't talk. Um, but then we're explaining why it is that we're not talking, because we needed that alone time.
I just
Oh,
thought of something else.
go
Everybody
ahead.
needs an accountability partner, whether that is for mental health, physical health. I think a great tip is having that accountability partner, somebody who's going to hold you accountable for the things you said that you are going to do. Um, if you out there by yourself, you're not going to reach that goal, because sometimes we need that push. We need somebody to check in with us and say, "Hey, you said you were going to do X, Y, and Z. Did you do that? If you didn't do it, how can I support you in reaching that goal?"
Thank y'all so much. So, what I will say that I've learned this year, I feel like I had a conversation with Janae, and then someone else also said it to me, is remembering that if you are married, your spouse is not your therapist. So please do not hold them accountable to for your peace and your happiness. That's something that you need to try to find within yourself, which means you may need outside resources, i.e., therapy. I will also say that it is great having that team of your group of friends, but also checking in with your friends before you start pouring all your issues onto them. Just like, hey girl, are you in the mental capacity to handle my crazy today, or do you have your crazy? So just I just always want people to remember that. Please, when it comes to me, I can't speak for any of you other ladies. Please do not call my phone with your issues without saying hello to me, because we didn't say hello first. Or text my phone. Please just say, hello, how are you doing? And let you know if I can help you, because I may normally be the person that you come to have this conversation with, but I may not be in the space to give you the best version of me because I'm not in a good space. So I may tell you to, bitch, go jump off a bridge, because maybe that's what I want to do that day. So you have to make sure that you check in with your team before you just put all your issues on them, okay? But it is important to have one. So you need to maybe have more than one person. Janae is that person for me 9 times out of 10, but I know she got her own life. So then I have my best friend that I will reach out to her instead. So that way I don't overburden Janae. But I hope that everyone has that safe haven, that friend that you can trust and you can have these open conversations with. Because not that I couldn't, I'm just throwing out an example, but there may be something that I know Janae is going to understand that, if I say, man, F them kids, she know I don't really mean F them kids. But if I went to Kivaya and was like, girl, F them kids, she may beat and call CPS and was like, yeah, she said F her kids and she probably leave them on the balcony. So you just want to make sure that you have, that y'all on the same page so that way you can just feel comfortable and know that you're not going through this journey alone. So first of all, I just want to thank all of you for real. I feel like this was a great conversation. I hope that you all enjoyed it as well. Tanisha has her hand up. Go ahead, Tanisha.
Okay, this is the last thing, I promise. I know I said that the last time. I know you said you're going to switch your topic. Therapy. One last thing I want to say about therapy. Therapy is not a one size fit all. I know people have gone to therapists and you like, oh, I didn't, she wasn't my dad. She wasn't my cup of tea. So you give up on therapy. Please do not give up on therapy because you went to that one therapist and it just didn't feel right. Go to several therapists until you find that therapist that works for you. Do your consultation calls. Most therapists will give you a free 15-minute consultation call. Take them up on that. Ask them what their therapeutic approach is. Ask them what, modalities they use. Let them know what you have going on. Be as transparent as possible so that you can see or get as much information as you can to see if that person is going to fit for you. But please do not just go to that one person and that be the end of it, because therapy is not one size fit all. When you're on your therapeutic journey, it should be like a plane ride. You are the pilot and they're your co-pilot. Allow them to support you on the journey. They're not to tell you how to live your life. They're just there to support you on this path. Okay, now I'm done.
But that was important, girl. So, I like that. All right. So, how I'm ending every episode on season 2 is by asking, what you watching on TV?
Like all the ratchet TV shows. I'm watching the Real Housewives of Potomac, Real Housewives of Atlanta. I'm on 90 Day Fiance, The Other Way. I like all them shows because I try to live a very zen life. So I need to get it through somebody. So I get it through the people on TV.
Okay.
Is it my turn? Because I sure forgot the order just as soon as you asked the question.
Yes, it's your turn.
Okay. Right now, I'm watching SEAL Team. I like military stuff. And ironically, my husband ended up being in the military. But anyway, it's a really good show. It takes me away from, ironically, again, it just takes me away from what's actually going on in the world to just kind of see it through a different light. I don't know. It's not necessarily an escape because it does talk about real world issues, but it's just neat to see them kick ass and go out there and actually do whatever it is that they talk about that they do, to see it on TV. So I like all the action. So that's where I'm at now.
I'm watching a variety of shows. I think I do watch a lot of some Housewives of Atlanta, Housewives of Potomac. I am currently watching The Good Doctor. I find that kind of fascinating, just learning more about autistic persons and working with them. And culturally, I watch a lot of shows in that capacity just to kind of learn about different cultures. But I find myself a lot looking at the House Hunters International, because I am in the process of saving for a house. So that's my motivation. So yeah, I'm everywhere, but I watch a lot.
Watching the total opposite of everybody, unfortunately. I am not watching no ratchet TV because I don't know nothing about no housewives, but I guess I need to get into it. So I'm watching SVU, Born, Law and Order. I'm watching Chicago PD. I'm watching what is it? This Is Us, the tearjerker. I'm watching everything that's causing me to go to therapy. That's what I'm watching. Because after I watch, I need to go to therapy. That's what I'm watching.
I also am watching The Housewives of Potomac. Love that show. I also watch This Is Us. But lately, I have really been into CNN. So I probably should stop watching it, but that's my thing right now.
Okay, so I look all the shows y'all named. I'm watching. I watch too. Law and Order is more so on the when it's the reruns. Sometimes I don't watch it like the new episodes, but just like if the TV's on and they come on, then I watch that. This Is Us. Randall just had a whole moment trying to find him a new therapist. Okay, like so clearly, I was like, yes, Randall, you need to see that representation. You need to talk to somebody yourself, not your adopted mother. Yes, I was all for that episode. That scene. But thank y'all. I'm just like so thankful that you all would join me today. You told the people what to watch on TV. So if they haven't been watching, I do suggest everyone watch All Rise. Okay. All Rise is a really good show on CBS. Holla at me if you need to see the first season, because I got it. All right. So until next time, you all, I just say stay 6 feet apart, wash your hands, and wear your goddamn mask. Good night.